Welcome in. Jesse Schule here from jesseschule.com. Today, Friday, we have the NFL kickoff show. Normally we do the show on Thursdays, but Thursday was Thanksgiving, and everybody but Lions fans had something to be thankful for. I've got three special guests returning to the show this week. I was kind to the boys last week. I let them have one win. I took two out of the three. I took down Rye Cape with the Cleveland Browns over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I took down who else did I take down? I took down somebody else with the I took down Dan Kaiser with the Chargers losing at Green Bay, and I let Joey Tron have a winner on Monday Night Football by the slimmest of margins. Anyways, we've got Dan Kaiser returning for another round. We got Rye Cape and we got Kevin Thomas. Kevin Thomas wasn't with us on the NFL show last week, but he was with us on the college show, and I'm sure he'd love to tell you how he did there. I'm going to bring Kevin Thomas on. We're going to talk about the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Kevin, happy Thanksgiving. How you doing?
Oh, happy Thanksgiving, buddy. I think it's a good day to stay home all day, after eating all that food and just barely waking up. So a lot of good college football. It's a full card. I mean, I know we've had some full cards, but when you got every sport going, it's a great day. I don't know about soccer. I don't cap soccer, so I don't know. But every other sport's going at it. So I'm
I think
excited.
the Premier League starts up again tomorrow. So for Premier League soccer fans, they'll be looking forward to that because they've just come off of a 2-week break for the international games. So Premier League fans will be happy to see Manchester City and Liverpool kicking off early tomorrow. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about NFL football. Kevin's had plenty of success on the show. I'm sure he'd love to tell you about that. We're going to look at the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. And Kevin, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I have no problem going first. I think when your sign went up, was it at a pick'em this game when you
Let's see.
posted it?
Latest odds from jesseschule.com. We got the Falcons plus 1.5 at Bet365.
All right, so we know why this line set at 1.5, right? Because the Saints allow 19 per game, and the Falcons allow about 21 per game. So there's your 1.5, and the Falcons at home really means nothing. The Saints are probably the better team, all around team here, but what we're looking at is the style of play. The Falcons in the beginning of the season, it was go after the top running back Bijan and run the crap out of him, and they didn't. He was getting split touches. Arthur Smith, he's a product of the Tennessee Titans. He was there as an offensive coordinator. He wanted his Derrick Henry, his cowbell ringer, but Bijan, he's more of a threat every way. They need to get the passing game going to get the running game going, and I think they figured that out with Ritter. They sat him. Heineke came in, did decent, but I think Ritter, he, it's a little slap in the face when you're getting benched for a backup. So he came in that last game and did pretty well. So I think that's going to carry over after the bye week. You got Drake London back healthy. Not only do you have Kyle Pitts, but you also have Smith, also Janu Smith. And look at what the Vikings did against these Saints. 132 yards for Hawkinson, and that was with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. I mean, the guy just came in. I mean, he did beat the Falcons. I'll give him that. But when they played the Falcons, Jaron Hall was the starting quarterback. That's who the Falcons prepared for. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of the game, you get Josh Dobbs, who ran the ball for like 66 yards and a touchdown to get that upset. I consider that an upset win with Jaron Hall starting against that Falcons defense. No one expected that. So he comes in and runs the ball. Derrick Henry's not a runner. He'll take off when he has to. He's more of trying to sling the ball as far as he can. He likes those big show me moments. No Michael Thomas. So he's going to be leaning on Chris Olave a lot. I think it's going to be super close. I think that 1.5 is huge. I think it's going to be a 1-point game either way. It's a huge game, though, for the South. Both these teams are still in playoff contention, even though their records aren't that great. But if you look at the NFC as a whole, you only have 4 teams that you pretty much can lock into the playoffs, and then it's wide open. So there's plenty of football to be played here, and I think the Falcons will be more improved after the bye than the Saints without Michael Thomas. They're pretty much an aging Saints team, especially on defense. And if you run the ball to the left side of them, I think they're giving up more rushing yards than more than half the NFL, the Saints. And that's rare because the Saints are usually a shutdown defense on run. But the left side, Robinson's side, about 5 to 6 yards per carry. So I like the Falcons here at home, especially with their underrated defense because they're pretty damn good.
All right, Kevin. Well, it sounds like we agree on a lot of things, but we're going to have to agree to disagree on who's going to win this game. I like the Saints. I totally agree with you that the 1.5 points could be huge. I would certainly recommend to bettors out there to just pony up and lay the 115 or 117, maybe even 120 on the money line. I think you'll be able to get that. The money line would be pretty affordable for this game, and you don't get caught with your pants down laying 1.5 points in a game that could be decided by a point. I expect this to be a close game, but I don't like the quarterback situation for the Falcons. The old adage, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. I think they started the wrong guy at the beginning of the year. I thought Heineke was the more experienced guy. You referred to him as a backup, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think Heineke had more starting experience than Ritter coming into the season. He was a bit more experienced, a bit more of a veteran. Ritter, the young guy, I thought he could have benefited by being the backup early on, and that would have allowed you to go to Ritter, a confident Ritter at this point in the season, rather than a Ritter that's already played and already lost his job, and he knows, and we all know, and everybody knows, you're only going to him because Heineke lost you the last 3 games. And to me, it kind of feels like catching a falling knife, if you're familiar with that analogy. That's from the stock market and stock trading. When a stock goes down and down and down, rather than betting on it to go back up, you say don't touch it because it's like catching a falling knife. And I think there's enough issues with this Falcons team that I'm not ready to back them to turn it around. Derek Carr, you did mention, he doesn't run the ball, and he's a guy that looks to throw it. Derek Carr has always been on the cusp of, is he good? Is he mediocre? But he's got plenty of experience. And heading into the Vikings game, Carr had thrown for 300-plus yards in 3 of his previous 4 games, and Carr had completed 70% or better of his passes in 3 straight games. I think Carr's benefited from the return of Alvin Kamara, who's a one-man wrecking crew in the passing game and in the running game. Kamara's just started to get going now. Normally the Saints, as a road team, especially in an outdoor game, might not look to be on them, but in Atlanta, in an indoor game, in an indoor setting, I think they'll be comfortable. I think they got the better quarterback, the better defense, the better coach. You even alluded to the Saints perhaps being the better team overall, and I'm going to lean Saints. I just think one of these teams has to make the step and take the bull by the horns and win this division, and it's not going to be Atlanta, in my opinion. So that's where I stand, Kevin. Why don't you tell us how you've been doing, what you got going on, any hot streaks you want to share with us, and where people can find your picks?
I've been red hot in college football. The NBA, close to 70%. That starts back up again today. They had the day off yesterday. College basketball, not so great. And NFL, it's been hit or miss. I'm about 50%. I'm still showing plus money a little bit, but I do on some sites where I do props, that helps me a lot. So I do have a prop up at Sports Memo, but I do have I think I have seven or 5 plays a day, but you can get all 5 of them for my Black Friday discount over at Sports Memo for $50. Huge deal today. It's basically $10 a pick. And I'm going to add one, but it won't be a part of that deal. I'm looking at some late college football that talking to these guys earlier, helped me out a little bit. So I think I might add a college football pick to that as well. There's so many games out there. I hate to have an even number, but we'll see what happens.
All right, Kevin. Well, thank you for stopping in. I'm going to send you backstage, and I'm going to bring out Dan the Man Kaiser. Happy Thanksgiving, Dan. What do you got for us?
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, I think I was the only person from Michigan not on the Lions yesterday, but there you go.
I know I was on him, and I didn't enjoy watching the game. It kind of ruined my Thanksgiving, but Wagyu steaks for dinner and the company of a lovely wife and a beautiful daughter and a son that helps me out with my work. I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be just fine.
That sounds good to me. But one thing, I don't think you took me down last week. I think Herbert took me down, but like he's taken down a lot of Chargers backers this season. So,
well, you're here to talk about the Ravens and these Chargers again. And since the Chargers screwed you last week, you want to bet against them here this week.
Yeah, well, here I've been in a quandary because Baltimore screwed me like 2 weeks in a row. I had them against Cleveland when they dropped that game. I had the Browns or the Bengals when they stomped the Bengals, and then I had the Chargers last week. So they're all on my list of hate. So we'll see.
Well, I think the public's going to love the Ravens here. I personally lean toward the Chargers. But before we get into it, Dan, do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I'll go first this time. Like I said, I haven't been able to pick either one of these teams recently. Baltimore's got me a couple weeks. Chargers got me last week. But I think that's just the thing about this Chargers team is, one, they don't play complementary football. Either one side shows up. Only one side shows up. You look at the Lions game a couple of weeks ago. The offense was out of this world, but they couldn't stop the Lions. Last week, the defense played well and the offense didn't. I got to look at this Ravens team. Usually this Ravens team is pretty even, both offensively and defensively. Lamar Jackson throwing for a little over 2,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Gus Edwards, 564 yards on the ground, 10 touchdowns. They like to run the ball. They like to pass the ball. The big thing that hurts me is Mark Andrews is out for the season. Jackson's favorite go-to guy when they need something on offense. But in saying that, Los Angeles, I just don't know what to make of this team. I just don't. Herbert can look great and he can stink. Their defense is bad. Eckler just isn't the same. He's got just under 400 yards and 4 touchdowns this season. The Chargers have failed to cover the spread in 10 of their last home games against the AFC North opponents. The Chargers give up a lot of passing yards at 32nd in NFL in passing. I think the Ravens will be able to take some shots deep. The Ravens love to run the ball. They're number 1 in rushing yards. They rank first in sacks, which is not a good sign for Herbert. I just think this Baltimore defense is going to be too much. It's sitting at 3.5. If it's sitting at 3.5 and you make the pick, to be honest, I'd probably buy it down to 3. I think it could come down to be a field goal game at the end, and I'd rather take the draw than lose by the hook.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Dan. I don't want to cut you off, but it seemed like an opportune time to jump in because that 3.5 is very key. The Chargers are 4-6 on the season. Those 6 losses, only one of them came by more than 3 points, and that was at Kansas City on the road. They've lost 5 games by 3 points or less. And last week we talked about the Chargers, and I was betting against them. And I told you they weren't very good. I told you their coaching staff was terrible. I told you that they have a knack for losing games decided by 4 points or less. And they did it again last week, and I think they're going to do it again this week, that 3.5 being so significant. Herbert is good enough with the talent he has on offense to score points in garbage time and make games close and push other teams to the brink, but their coach is bad enough to make the wrong decision, so they end up losing by a field goal in the end. And it certainly wouldn't shock me to see that happen. It wouldn't shock me to see them just get a win. I mean, they are a desperate team. You look at their injuries, you got Guyton and Everett are questionable. That's pretty much nothing for their offense. I mean, the fact that that's all they got to worry about this week, that's great news for this team. This team's been ravaged by injuries over the year. Joey Bosa, obviously a huge loss, but perhaps Mark Andrews, the biggest loss of them all. That's definitely going to hurt Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are the better team. There's no question, but the line here is quite significant. Like I said, it's that hook, and you seem quite aware how dangerous that hook could be in this game, and that's why I'm on that side, and you're reluctantly on the other side talking about buying that half point. But before I send you backstage, Dan, why don't you tell everybody what you got going on, how you've been doing, and where people can find your picks?
All right, yeah, things have been going really well. I'm 7-2 my last 9 college basketball. I was 3-1 yesterday. My only loss came in overtime. I'm 8-2 my last 10 over the last 3 days. I'm 33-20-2 for the season in the NFL. So things are going really well there. Today we've got a play on the Black Friday game in the NFL. I've got 3 college football games up, and right now there's 1 college basketball game up, but I've got 2 more coming as soon as the show's over. You can find me at jesseschule.com, theinsiderzoom.com, sports memo, sports capping. So yeah, check it out. It's been going good right now, and jump on while it's still going good.
Well, thank you for joining us, Dan, and good luck, unless you're against us.
No, I am against.
Gonna bring in Rye Gabe, and I know he's against me too. How you doing, Rye? You having a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was one of those rare days when I out-ate myself rather than out-drinking myself.
All right. So, we got the prime time total to talk about. We got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings, Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about this game. Did you want me to go first, or do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I'll go first. I guess
everybody's going first this time.
Actually, this number moved down to 43 now, so you probably could find
all right
3.5 somewhere. But yeah, as we know, unders have been all the rage this season. We keep on expecting regression, but we don't see it. Week 7, we saw the unders go 10-4. That's a 60% cash rate. Totals have been low recently, and they're still going under. Primetime unders have been very popular. It's shown here with the public backing. I think a lot of this is because we're seeing a lot of backups, and we'll see another one Monday night in Minnesota. Josh Dobbs has played well as a Viking. He did get his first loss with this team last week. He actually fumbled 3 times and threw an interception. Only one of those fumbles was recovered by the defense, but it shows he's having trouble with ball security. Minnesota is a team that typically starts slow offensively, while on the other side, defensively, they start extremely strong. I think they're one of the best defensive first quarter teams in the NFL. They're only giving up 3.3 points per first quarter over the season. These teams have played recently. This was a game that saw Fields exit with an injury. Bagan came in for relief. Minnesota did win that game 19-13, which is well under this total of 43. The Bears did hold Kirk Cousins led offense to 4 yards per play. This is when the Vikings offense was rolling. Chicago's defense is getting healthy. They added Montez Sweat, which I think has been huge these last couple of weeks. The Bears defense played well last week, I guess until the last 4 minutes of games. But they had Jared Goff looking like a rookie. This defense had 3 interceptions on a usually mistake-free QB. This defense did start out slow in the season, but they're trending in the right direction now. I expect both defenses to show up, create turnovers. I expect both QBs to struggle. I don't think the under trend stops here. I think the public got this one correct. I'm taking the under.
Prime time unders. Well, didn't work on Thanksgiving, and I don't think it's going to work here. You mentioned that the Bears made Jared Goff look like a rookie. Well, what did the Packers make him look like? A pee-wee football quarterback? Or, I mean, he looked awful yesterday on Thanksgiving. But But yeah, no. Also, that previous game, I'm going to throw out those results on the account that A, Fields got injured halfway through the game. B, that was outdoors in Chicago. They call it the Windy City for a reason. Now we're indoors in Minnesota in their indoor facility. And I'm looking at the Bears when Fields plays. So Fields has played 6 games from start to finish. The Bears have averaged 27 points per game in those games that Fields has played, which is kind of surprising because you think of the Bears are obviously one of the worst teams in the NFL. So clearly their offense is better with Fields in there at quarterback. Josh Dobbs, you mentioned he's a backup. He's a guy that came in to replace Kirk Cousins, but they've won 2 of 3 with him. They've averaged 26 points per game in the games that Dobbs has played for them. And he's consistently moved the ball. And, I think he'll be able to do it at home against the Bears. The Bears on the road, I mentioned, at home in the outdoor stadium at the Windy City. Maybe they play some low-scoring games. But on the road, with a total of 43, the over is 4-0-1 this year for the Bears road games. I think that trend continues here. I think this total is a little low, all things considered. And I expect the Bears to sort of play with reckless abandon because they're a team that's not really focused on the postseason, and their goals probably are more focused on the upcoming draft than the postseason. So I'm taking the over. But before we bring in the other guys, Rye, tell everybody what you got going on. Tell us all about your winning streaks, where they can find your picks.
Yeah, so I've had a phenomenal November. I'm surprised myself. But yeah, you can find me at RyeCape on all social media. I've been doing really well in NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA. I've done well. I do some NHL. I may do some soccer this weekend for the EPL as well. As always, you can find all of these picks as free plays on pickadvisor.com. You could also check me out on the top of the leaderboard there. That's always fancy. I'm also over at winnersandwhiners.com. And you can find all my premium plays at theinsidersroom.com. And I'll have a new home shortly.
That's right. Soon to be featured at jesseschule.com as well. All right, Rye, let's bring the boys in and see what they got cooking for Black Friday. So, Kevin, you got any big plans today? Any turkey dinners or prime ribs or hams or anything like that?
No, that was all yesterday, and all of the leftovers are already gone. We stayed up and gorged. Just dropping off a swag, which is a fancy wreath for my aunt. They put them on my grandmother's tombstone, so we sell them for my daughter's softball, high school softball team to raise money so they can do other fun take tournaments and stuff. So that's what I'll be doing today, handing stuff out.
Well, I hope you get a chance to kick back and watch some football tonight because there's some big games in college. I'm looking forward to some of that action. And I got to get my money back because I was 0-2 yesterday on Thanksgiving. I had a loser in college. I had the Iowa Hawkeyes in college basketball. Last I checked, the Hawkeyes were a team that could score points, but they were shooting 18% from the field or from the 3-point range yesterday. And that ruined my day. That between them and the Lions, it was Black Friday started early for me.
Yeah,
Anyways,
when Oklahoma Moore, that guy killed us because he just ran that game against Iowa. That was bad.
Well, I hope Oklahoma gets theirs when they play USC in about an hour. But Dan, what do you got going on for the rest of the day?
Just sitting in front of the TV, watching these games. I think a couple games going off at noon, and then I leave Tuesday for England. So I got some stuff I got to take care of for that. So,
and I think Rye is going to get a double-barreled shotgun and go look to shoot Donald Duck.
No, I'm making some turkey deleveries today. So,
for those of you who missed it, that was a Yosemite Sam reference.
Yeah, negative.
Maybe it's only funny for me. Anyways,
Watch
Anybody
Saturday.
got any action in
I'll
this?
be down in the red paint.
Anybody got you? Well, that's what you got to do next Halloween, Yosemite Sam. Anybody got action in this Miami game in Miami Jets? Who's got the balls to bet on this game? Is how I should phrase this, because I don't have the testicular fortitude to bet on a game with Miami as a big favorite on the road at the Jets on a frickin' Friday with Tim Boyle at quarterback. I mean, just this game reeks of, the Lions game all over again, or something crazy is going to happen in this game. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I gave out the under as a free video on my YouTube channel. I gave out that under. It was 44 and down to 40.5, but seems like anytime I give out the under, you got to look at the other side. But yeah, like you said, Boyle, he came with Hackett from the Packers, and that's nothing great.
Do you guys know what Tim Boyle's career stats are? I heard them. I almost puked.
Yeah,
I almost
touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 18 appearances, something like that.
How come that guy's got it makes me angry that this is the last. This is all you got to throw in an NFL game, because I know for sure there's better guys out there. There's better guys in the CFL, for Christ's sakes. Honestly, it really is.
Kaepernick, go get Kaepernick. Huh?
Come on, you're kidding, right? Thankfully, if you were serious, I don't know how I would address that, but no. I mean, there's better guys that we see in the preseason that don't get signed to and a lot of it I think is just money. They don't want to pay these veterans that are, they're not going to take backup jobs unless you pay them a little bit of money, so they send them packing. I think it's a bit of a travesty that we have to watch Tim Boyle in a standalone game on a Black Friday holiday. Makes me want to. It gets me a little bit upset to my stomach.
Well, I'm on under too, so hopefully it's a snooze fest. It's a weird time for a Friday game. We already know that the Jets can't score. I think they haven't hit a total of 40 in their last 6 games, or 6 of their last 7. 2 of their last 3, they've only scored 6 points.
And the Raiders held the Dolphins to 20. So what's that tell you? Because the Jets' defense is 3 times better than the Raiders, especially the back end. It's going to be the run game. So there's going to be 2 run games. That's it.
Yeah, well, the Dolphins don't really have any. Is Mostert playing today?
Yeah, he's the only one.
Yeah, I took a glance at the Dolphins' offense, and it looked like the entire offensive line is questionable, doubtful, questionable, out. It looks like a mess.
My guess is Sauce Gardner is going to be all over Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, I think, still has problems with his hands from last week. Dolphins don't score on the road anyway. So, yeah, I like the under here. No side. I think 9.5 is too much, especially in a divisional game on a Friday at 3:00.
I think it's a great game for me to stay away and just watch and see what I can learn for next week. But I let you guys talk about all your winning streaks and where everybody can find your picks. I'm going to tell everybody about myself, and then we're going to call it a day, and we're going to enjoy the rest of our holiday, watch some football, watch some college hoops. But for a limited time at jesseschule.com, you can get all my picks. 3 days, all access, all sports, only $19.99. That's a hell of a Black Friday sale. Why should you be interested in that? Well, until yesterday, when I went 0-2, I was kicking butt, taking names, top of the leaderboards, all over the internet. Still 11-4 with my last 15 NFL picks. Off to a pretty good start to college basketball, college football, and the pros. Swept last weekend. Got a bunch of plays on tap Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You want to get that 3-day all-access pass? You got $19.99 in your pocket? You come see me at jesseschule.com. You'll be glad that you did. Even Dan's dog knows that. All right, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you either on Saturday or next week. Good luck unless you're against us.